How are
Good
you?
morning, and happy day. Happy day.
Always, it's a Monday.
It's a Monday. Fun day is Monday.
I'm so excited because today at the Wolf and the Bear podcast, which is a spiritual podcast starring Terri Groom and myself, Sophia Sterling, we try to bring you pretty raw and real educational
Ryan
information
Rio.
about spirituality as we understand it and as we've channeled it and experienced. So everything that we talk about, things that we've experienced firsthand. And so take it or leave it, because I know that sometimes everyone's experience and perception can be different. But this is our truth as two psychic mediums in DFW. Today, though, and I'm
Excellent.
so excited, we're talking about angels. And last week we were supposed to, and then our mutual love of the topic and ADD took us to NDEs. So we're
Yes,
back.
everywhere.
I love
I
your
love it.
glasses, by the way.
I know I'm rocking the glasses because this is my Monday glassware. I've got to be awake,
I love it.
right? So
Yes.
so it kind of match my eyes. Can you tell?
Well, but I didn't know. I don't know if I've seen those frames before. They're really pretty.
Thank you. They're just fun. My I call it my sisters at the Dollar Tree. They like me.
Yes. Yeah, 1,000,000%. Hey, no shame in that game.
No
I would
shame in that
say
game.
I can't ever have expensive sunglasses or glasses because I have to Sterling proof my life and I'm going to break them. They're going to be gone
I love
somehow.
that.
This is not the
This
good
Sterling
move.
proof. I love that. Oh my
You
gosh.
must,
That's great. Yes, we got Sterlingisms too. I like it.
Well, Miss Terri, as I recall from a lot of our training, I know nothing and you know everything in this circumstance. I'm so excited
Well,
to
I don't
talk to
know
you.
about everything. I'll tell you.
Well, you know, I admire you so much and your depth of knowledge is so real. I sent you a couple weeks ago this video that I saw, and
Hmm.
it was concerning an angelic presence, and it was kind of what got my brain itching a little bit because that topic is not particularly close to me. Um, but in this video, basically, this gentleman who had a background in special operations, so was very warrior energy, very capable in combat, and he spoke about this circumstance where he was on the way to this market area. Um, no, nothing really weird about the day, and he wound up picking up a hitchhiker.
Hmm.
And he
Hmm.
said that there was nothing particularly strange about the hitchhiker, except that at one point he pulled out a very decorated, like, dagger weapon sort of thing. And he thought that it was very strange that when he pulled it out, the sense of calm and peace that was around him, the fact that he wasn't alarmed, was
Yes,
notable.
absolutely.
And then after that, perfectly normal conversations. And then as he got out of the vehicle, out of nowhere, he felt like that the person had sort of swapped into this other energy and basically just said something to the effect of, you know, not really as clear as may God be with you, but sort of like supportive words, basically.
Yes.
And that there was a glow that kind of came and then went. And then fast forward a couple of hours later, and there was a terrorist attack in the market that he was present at. He basically was able to save roughly around 700 lives that day.
It's
So,
incredible. Yes, incredible
and it,
stories. I love that.
well, and
Love it.
it seems hopeful because it's like we don't really always, I don't know that I always think about angels as being particularly concerned with things of that nature, but maybe they are.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, there's a lot to be said about angels. Before we go there, I've got another little Terryism I'm going to throw in the mix, of
Yes.
course, right? So, and it does tie in. I promise I'm not getting all sidetracked and all snarled up in something else. But I had a very beautiful experience. Just for me, it was very elevating, and it's along the same lines as what we're talking about with the angelic presences. But I was teaching one of my channeling classes at Angelicia, and I was in the back room, the yoga room. It's a huge room, and lots of windows, and it's really beautiful. And it was, again, it's a nice place for everyone to chill and relax, and they were all just spread out in a mat. They were going to go into a meditative state. It was beautiful. I said, let me turn some lights off. Just have just a hint of light in the room, so you don't stumble about if you have to go, down the hallway to the restroom. So I did that. But I also noticed that as I was facing them behind me in another office, there is a Taekwondo place, and they were doing work. They were working and exercising and doing what Taekwondo people do, right? So what was amazing, and this brought me to this thought today as well. So I am sitting watching all my students, very blissfully, some asleep, some just resting, connecting as best as however best is. And I started looking out the windows that were in front of me. And what was so remarkable is that the reflections from the people in the Taekwondo center, moving from one panel of glass, theirs, to my panel of glass behind me, to the panel of glass in front of me, that echoed out into the sidewalk with some lights on it across the road. These images were the most profound markers of how I see energy I've ever seen in my entire life, where I could have shown someone. So I watched all these outlined individuals, because you couldn't make out any features, but you could see them walking about. And it was exactly what I see. And I was so profoundly moved by it. So at the end of it, I couldn't wait to get everyone up and at 'em, because I wanted them to know how excited I was about, if you want to see what a spirit looks like, for those that want to be more visual, this is your day, because this is amazing. Of course, as I'm saying that, the people are wrapping it up behind me, which I'm like, no, stay put. Keep moving those arms, do something. But everyone looked at me very dumbfoundedly, and I thought, why? I mean, I'm so excited I could barely contain myself, and everyone's like, okay. I'm like, do you want to see it? They're like, I don't know.
They're like, anyways, Subway. No.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm thinking, but no, this is what you want to see as a spirit, right? And they just kind of look, I don't know. So as we were leaving, I'm getting to my point here. I made mention to a couple of them. I said, well, wouldn't you like to see angel energy? Wouldn't you like to see what it would be if the angelic presence was known, that you could see them, you could feel comforted by what I just showed you, that you could take and translate in other ways to other images? Well, that got the party started, because we talked, that moment was about angels.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone has a very, most people anyway, a very curious thought on them, a curiosity that kind of stays with them. So long story short, the people next door on cue left.
Of course.
So I had no more visions. But I did have a wonderful marker to be able to present forward in those instances where I had that perfect data, that perfect match of energy to show, because that is also the way angels present themselves to me. So it was just a beautiful representation that we do have a lot of energy around us. Go ahead.
Well, and so the description that you kind of gave, it's basically heavily silhouetted.
Well, it's the equivalent in this instance. Yes, it is. But in this instance, if you could imagine someone took just an amoeba and gave it a human shape and started doing human things.
So it's not descriptive. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm tracking.
Completely transparent, but also kept in shape and form.
And is that same or different than a living or a deceased spirit, whatever you want?
Actually, it's very similar.
Okay, that makes sense. I was curious.
Yes, I mean, we can go into all sorts of descriptions as, oh, well, we see the fiery blue around Michael, and it emanates everywhere, and et cetera, et cetera. But energy, the basis of energy, was so perfectly depicted by just these shadows. Again, they weren't dark, scary shadows.
Right.
There were these light energies that were just moving around. It was like they were walking on the sidewalk, but it was the illusion based on the real living people that were behind me.
And
it was amazing.
So what do you think about when people, well, in the scripture, they talk about sort of that scary looking winged, eyeballed out angel, right? And the whole be not afraid, and everyone's like, why would we not be afraid? That's terrifying.
Well, sure, exactly. If we saw a lot of their true form, we probably wouldn't be all that happy to see them.
And you do feel that there is a true form.
I do feel there's a true form.
Oh, wow.
And as we begin, if I say the word gargoyle, most of the listeners in the audience will go, oh, they're so scary. No, in fact, they're not. They're warriors. Gargoyles are meant to be scary to those that are damaging and evil.
And gargoyles are angel energy you're comparing, or no?
Well, I'm comparing them on some level. Some people would disagree with me. But the premise of a gargoyle is to protect the innocents, right?
That's why they were always on the cathedrals.
They be in the same echelon? Yes. So when I see gargoyles, I love them. I look at them and I go, hey, Hail Mary, there's my gargoyles. And some people will look at them as monsters. So again, it is all in the uptake of opinion and data.
Oh my gosh, that's so fascinating. I'm processing as we go. Well, of course, in my childhood, there was Gargoyle the show,
Right.
and so I have a positive association with them because I loved that show, but I don't remember it from the spiritual component, and it does make sense because you told me a long time ago, actually when we were in New York, you said that when you have to combat something of the darkness, you take on the scariest form you can. You take on the most aggressive form you can.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that makes sense.
Absolutely. And really, for all of you out there, well, some of you might disagree with this, but I'm really not that scary. And so for me to desire that form, sometimes there's a need for that form. Sometimes going in looking like, Susie Homemaker or looking like, Pollyanna the angel isn't going to cut it. So you do have to sometimes take on a form that is a little bit more intimidating.
Well, a warrior thing, this is something that I just told a coworker of mine recently, but I feel this to be true because I feel this in me. I noticed that a lot of people that have forearm tattoos that are gauntlet style have a
Yes.
tendency to have either already endured quite a bit of conflict and pain this lifetime, or they carry that energy. And it's almost like if you go and you get it tattooed, it's like you need. I think there's something there. I don't think we
That
just
makes sense.
magically decide we want them there. She was
Right.
talking about wanting to maybe remove a forearm tattoo and it wraps, right? I was like, well, it fits her energy, but
it's very interesting. And I do agree that we take on the personas of energy, and it can be angelic. One thing, and we're not going to spend much time here, but for the listeners out there, I know that at least some of my clients, some students in the past, periodically I'll see an earth angel. So while we're on the subject of angels, we'll briefly talk about earth angels. Now, I want to tell you before we get into the nuts and bolts of some of the specialties that the earth angels are oftentimes angels that come into human form. They come into human form so that they can better help mankind. And so what we recognize, there's probably some correlation. Now people don't get all crazy about this, but between the starseeds who believe that they're coming here now to be able to create a better place and to help those that are basically have been awakened. So there possibly is a correlation between earth angels and the starseeds if you look at it from that perspectiveness. Now, an earth angel that comes here, an angel that takes on a human form, we would think, we would speculate that, oh gosh, they come here and oh, they live in the best houses, drive the best cars, look at those pretty wings, oh my gosh, they're just so amazing, they make no errors, they're completely pure, blah blah and blah blah. But that's not true. An earth angel comes here to live a human experience, and oftentimes they go in the ditch. They literally grab every bad experience one could know about and take it on so that they can understand what people suffer with. They want to know the suffrage. Now, again, those that come here as earth angels, I'm sure that they are a little bit different than spirits and human spirits that just come through that go, okay, sign me up for whatever until I get there and then I'll whine about it later. An earth angel comes here to be educated about mankind. So they usually have addictions. They usually have bad relationships. They usually have money crises. They're usually depressed. They go from anxiety to depression. They oftentimes will have a nice balance of things, and everyone will think they're a great person, and then they screw up again, and then they have to deal with chaos.
I just heard that they wander.
They wander. And they wander because that's what they set out to do. You can't help what you don't know and experience.
Wow. Wait, so you're basically indicating that earth angels, they're not as much here to have a play in the outcomes of events. They're here to simply be.
To simply be and to simply experience mankind. So, if we know that we are a flawed society, flawed, energy and human vessel, and then we recognize that we've got, that we've also got an opportunity to have helpers here, just like we have guides that can kind of meander around with us and at least see our plights, see our issues, our heartaches, our traumas. So if you are an earth angel, there's not a lot of you out there. I know that there's some. I've talked to you. I've spent time with you. Don't despair. You chose this. Okay. So you signed up, that was your signature. And so you did come here as a noble effort to help everyone else. And I know you think, well, how come I can't help myself if I'm here to help you? But you're learning the experiences. You can't know me unless you know and have walked in my shoes. And that's what an earth angel does in human form. Does that make a little bit of sense?
It makes perfect sense, but I am curious. So that basically indicates that just like animal souls are different than human souls would be different than a sentient angel soul. They're not really here to do the karmic cycle. This is more like I need to learn for a brief experience, learn everything I can as quickly as I can, i.e. those really tortured lives, and then go back into what?
Well, probably to go back into angelic energy as they go and transition from this particular physical experience.
Okay.
We recognize, and this is going to make everyone on the other side gasp as well, that there's so many different levels and layers of angelic energy. And what we deem as the highest of high are actually the low man on the totem pole.
And you are talking the
Archangels.
Angels. Okay.
Yes. As we study and we move forward in our educational pursuits, whether they're channeled messages or coming straight from a lecture or a book, we realize that the archangels get a lot of credit for a lot of things. But archangels actually are lower on the totem pole. And it's not that it's not bad, please don't understand it, but they're not the highest order. The highest orders we're going to talk about in a minute. Now it doesn't mean that, because I don't want Michael mad at me. Okay. I mean, I've seen that sword and it's a pretty blue one too, just like him. But
and so he's a blue energy, you say?
He's more blue energy. Now, if you ask me all the different flavors and colors and, they're like, to me, they're like a mixture of sherbet. Okay.
I love it. But all those pastels or no? Is there ever like a really dark color?
Well, what I see when I see the blue, it's actually it's that real beautiful, it can be royal, but very vibrationally charged. So it's almost like that. It's not the color of my glasses. I really wish it, because I'd like these to be my glasses. It's electrical. It's different. Now, don't ask me all the different colors, as I said, because I'm not going to remember that. My brain is the size of a pea, and I only have so much microchips in there, okay? So,
no! Don't say that.
So go slow, right? Go slow with me on here. But if I'm going to say that about the archangels, and trust me, if we believe what we study in here, they don't have an ego, so they're not all sitting around the table right now, ticked off at Terri Groom, okay? Going, I can't believe she said that.
No.
Everybody has a role to play, and whether your belief system is, here, there, and everywhere in a religious sector, kind of go straight down the center of the road with me, people. You may have a different belief system, but I'm going to tell you what I have heard. Fair enough?
Yes.
Good.
And heard from spirit, not just
from spirit.
Online.
I met my first seraphim. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
my first seraphim. And actually, it shocked me because for a moment it caught me off guard. And so I thought, how the heck can that be? Now, this person wasn't necessarily a seraphim in this lifetime, but I felt that there was something very, very connected about this young woman in that energy. Now, we know seraphims are considered one of the highest orders. Okay.
Okay.
The seraphim
I didn't know that.
is the energy that is the fiery one. The seraphim is the one that sits right inside of God. It's there, 6 wings, 4 to cover up, because that's humility. So in the presence of God, they would cover up the 4 wings, and then 2 are used to serve in locomotion. They scream religious messages at times in their own, in I don't want to say their own environment. I don't know what that is. That's a weird way of saying it. But they are known to be the holy ones of God, however God is perceived by you. So a seraphim is considered the highest order. Okay? So a seraphim, I don't think I really want to see one in full action, because 6 wings might make me a little afraid. But I did feel when I sat with this person that there was something very connected to her in seraphim. And I had to really think about that, because that's a very odd thing for me to even connect to on a human level. Because seraphim obviously are not human. They're high order of angelic energy. So more than anything, seraphim are basically portrayed, as the best way I can explain it, as looking a lot like us on some level. They got hands, they got feet, they got facial expressions, but they also have 6 wings. And that, to me, I'm a little intimidated by that.
Mm-hmm.
And please forgive me, all the seraphim that may or may not be around me. The first thing I saw was a bunch of flies, and I know that's not it. Okay, because flies mean something different.
Well, and when you had that experience where you were singing, asking to go home, they had normal wings. Like, how was that?
They
Was
had
that
normal wings, so
okay?
they weren't seraphim.
I
Those
see.
were not seraphim. Often what you'll see too, if you pay attention to, if you're an art buff and you go to some of the more religious sectors of art, you'll see that seraphim are usually in the paintings.
Mm-hmm.
You'll look at it real brief probably, and you'll think that they're just angels, because the wings are probably folded in, the other 4 wings, because they're covered in humility. They don't have any. It's not that they're shamed. It's just that they want to be respectful. So it's their way of kind of like our way of bowing, if you can envision that. And then they have the wings that are more about the typical angelic energies.
Mm-hmm.
So seraphim, they're right up there. They're right up there. They're upper echelon. There's so many different depictions of them. There's so many things you can read, or I stopped reading about them because there's a lot of contradictory information depending on which side of the fence you are with religion.
Mm-hmm.
But from this, again, envision yourself walking straight down the center of the road. Be careful you don't get hit. And this is where I'm at today, is giving you the basics.
Well, perfect. And I did want to say, there was an understanding that I came across a while ago, and I can't cite it at the moment, but it kind of talked about how that of the physical world, or of the world that we experience, all of our, where we go when we die, where we go as our everything, our reality, I guess. But it's like, okay, so if there is always going to be a constant that tries to break apart the order of things.
Oh, yes.
They say basically that the higher levels of angels are not really even concerned with us. They're concerned. They sing, or they bring about. They try to keep the order together.
Yes.
As in the nature of reality.
That's exactly right. Now, I will tell you though, they have been known also to shed their personas. Okay. They've also, I don't think they come, from my understanding, again, remember, love first, wisdom second. It keeps me out of the ditch here, or as best as I can. They have also been known to come to Earth just to basically to see what's going on, see what humanity's about. And from my understanding of this, they will shed whatever look they have. Now, remember, if they're the fiery ones, they're not all just, oh, look, I have such pretty red hair, and I'm all dressed up in my shoes. I'm probably a little scary too, right? If I'm a fiery one and I'm representing the most powerful energy, deity, according to this faith, then I probably look a little scary when I'm there. But when they come to Earth, the speculation is that they come to Earth, they come in as basically very aloof, tall, thin humans.
Wow.
They have to give a look of something that we wouldn't, shudder and run from. And that's the way they're depicted, is it's on Earth, on an earthly level, they're very tall, thin, wiry, aloof humans.
Was that how that female was that you said was Sarah?
Well, what was interesting, she was more of the fiery. She was more of, I'm the fiery soul. I know that there's a lot of things that, kind of a little bit of brim and the brimstone take, and so there was a lot of other connections that really dove deep into religion, and to the point that it was almost, well, it was biblical to sit with her.
Wow.
And so I started watching things, and some of the terminologies that kept popping up. I was curious. I'm a very curious soul. So when I hear something afterwards, I'm like, I need to research this, at least Google it. I need to get on there and go, what is the meaning of, so I can figure a little more out. Because it was very interesting, all her tie-ins. But all of her tie-ins were very high-profile positions in the spiritual realm, in the biblical time. So when I saw that, I blurted it out, kind of freaked her out as well. She was like, I don't have a clue what that is. And I'm like, well, I know enough to know that I should probably be a little worried about this. but it was very interesting. It was very surreal. Uh, does she fit the persona that I described? No, not necessarily. But some of the fieriness, some of the there's a repercussion of things. There's a way of doing things. There's a but not a mean soul. So, have I actually seen a human form of a seraphim? We'll see. Maybe. Sure felt like that from my knowledge of things, the best I can. So there is a likelihood that she was probably from one of the higher orders.
Did your guides act differently?
They did. And, always, it's really interesting because I'm going to tell you, people, I really don't sit there and go, oh, you're Cleopatra. Oh, you're Prince Charming.
No, we
oh,
are
you're
very
Napoleon.
against that.
Oh, really, I'll tell you, many of my lives, all I was doing was pushing ducks to the pond. Okay.
Right. Yeah. We're just accountants. We're just taxpayers.
I'm just doing my people and things. Right.
Yeah.
So what I kept seeing the higher orders there, I've started feeling like we've got something here. And I was uncertain as to what we had. So, there's something to be said about getting this data. Again, I'm a little bit on the other side of what, that's what I said. I don't immediately jump in with everyone has a title. Because really, there's enough common people in this world. You've got to be one at least once in your past lives. But nobody likes to hear that. I always get a kick out of it. I have to tell you again, this is Terryism. Sometimes when I see that, because I've got certain clients and they don't know who they are, so it won't matter. I won't offend them. Because
I love it.
When they go into this real deep speculation of I'm this, I'm that, and oh my gosh, do I bow down to you here or there? Where everything you're telling me, I should be, you should be sitting in my seat, not the other way around.
Yep.
So I like to play with them. Sometimes I will tell them things that they just don't want to hear. Oh my gosh. Those monkeys they used to keep in the cages at some of the old Egyptian vendors, fairs? And I said, you had one. And they get very upset. Then they think they're king. And I'm like, no, you're the one that brought.
Right. Well, that's the reality. Like, that's a lot of what our lives would have been. Yeah.
Well, again, if we go from a place of we're not basing our world from ego, then at some point we have to get down to earth and go, hey, you know what? I probably wasn't all these wonderful things. I may have been one or two of them, but I'm also a person. So, my past lives aren't going to be all that spectacular always.
I just had a thought about you as what you do and how you find people and how they find you. And it can't be by accident that if the presence of these sort of, that's a pretty significant encounter. And then you have to wonder, I can't help but wonder, like, are they also seeking the comfort by finding you? How this person, out of all the people that she could have met, she met somebody like you, who's incredibly gifted, who has a very real attachment to the other side. It's like, was that a comfort of like, dang, I really miss home? Like,
I think it's a combination of many things. I would hope that there would be some type of universal draw or pull. If we're all on the same page trying to do our best to help humanity and we're trying to sort things out, I would hope that there would be a draw.
I just heard game knows game. So I wonder if there's something about you.
And I'm a firm believer that energy attracts energy. I'm a firm believer of that. I always have been. And if you don't believe me, then I suggest anyone out there, just to have some fun with this, raise your vibration. Take a day where you're in a great mood. You've done your meditations. Everything's happy. You're not sorting out rent or, car payments. You're happy, and go find yourself a public place. Like, and hurry, because the malls are all disappearing. But if you were going to a mall, I'm not talking about online shopping. If you're going to a mall, you're going someplace where there's a lot of people meandering around. Take a moment. Do your best to smile. Find the ones that you need to smile at. Some of them will turn away immediately. Now, I'm not saying look like you're a stalker. Just smile. Simple smile. Right. And then watch the mannerisms. Watch the mannerisms. Smile. Those that are in the same need or in the same kind of arena, I don't even know what that means, but they know you know them and they know you somehow. You'll get the biggest smiles from them.
Okay? That's so
I did that,
cool.
and I actually had a woman walk up to me and say, "Can I hug you?"
Oh, wow.
And I thought, well, that's a little weird, but sure, why not? So energy knows
Wow.
energy. And so if energy knows energy, then something is up with that.
Yes,
Now
100%.
and all those that are looking for boyfriends and girlfriends and are like, no, I'm out there and I'm making all the right vibes, but I'm not getting them. Well, it's two things. One, it's not time. Sorry. Or two, your vibration isn't really saying come here. It's saying go away. So
Mm-hmm.
we also see some of that. So if we know that to be true and we even teach that and we even talk about that and that's a psychological, there's a term for it, we recognize it must kind of play into what we do too, right? Energy is energy. Energy knows
Mm-hmm.
energy. If I come out and I look all stoic, you may feel I'm unapproachable. If I walk out and I go, ta-da, then you're going to come to me because I'm approachable. You're going to be drawn either because I'm an idiot or you're drawn because there's something that's being kind of released from my energy that seems very comforting.
What's kind of funny about this is I just watched this thing about Marilyn Monroe,
Hmm?
and she was talking about it was like a friend of hers or like a cousin of hers who was speaking about her in this way, saying she loved New York because she could disappear.
Yeah.
And she said that they were walking down the street, and she looked over at her friend and she said, "Would you like to see me become her?"
Yep.
She's like, "What?"
Yep.
And then she just like looked down and then looked back up, and she said, out of nowhere, we'd been walking the street, nobody noticed her, nobody recognized her. Out of nowhere, everyone's head turned and stuff like that. And I bring this up to say, I wish that people knew they could be more conscious with what they project, because it will be effective. So like if you don't want to be spoken to, then put the part of you that is the people pleaser, put the part of you that is, more willing to engage with other people's energy, shut it down, and you'll receive more of the experience you're looking for, which is maybe to have a little bit less engagement that day, and vice versa.
Well said, well said. You do show, whether it's subconscious or not, you do show your true authentic self. You do show also yourself that's struggling. You do show trauma. I mean, I've been from all sides of that. And yes, you do show that. It's an energy. I'll tell you one of my biggest compliments that I've ever received in my entire life was when I was about 17, going on 18. And it was just amazing. I was actually working in a liquor store. Yes, I know I was young. They didn't know that. So keep quiet. Okay.
I love it. I love it.
Back in the day, New York was 18 years to drink. So I was 17 and I was working in a liquor store, wine store, and I had the neighborhood drunk. Okay. Now I'm sorry, but that's just what he was. Okay. He's the one that was around the corner begging for money so he could come in and buy the muscatel. So
wow.
He came in one day and he just chatted with me, and I just chatted with him, and I was trying to send him energy because I didn't want him to feel like, this was a man who was a loner, even though he was very smart. He just lost his way. So I would always send him good vibes. And one day, and I wouldn't compliment him and do all these things to make him attached to me. But one day before he walked out of the door with his little pint, he stopped. He goes, and I'll never forget this as long as we live. He goes, you got charisma. And I've never forgotten that. He has no idea that he changed my life. He has no idea. See, we never know when we change someone's life, do we?
It's like that not the hijacker. Oh my God, sorry. the hijacker.
No, not the hijacker.
The hitchhiker.
Hitchhiker.
It's like, what happened where he just said, I need to tell you this. And then that was a pretty pivotal thing for you.
You never know when your life's going to be changed. And a lot of times it comes from the sources you would least suspect it to come from. But I'll never forget that, because what it made me determined to do was to be that. Regardless of my upbringing, regardless of my trauma, regardless of my needs, my woes, my ways, I needed to be charismatic. And so I did. That little town drunk, excuse my French, that's what he was called. He changed my world, and he's long passed, I'm sure. He was an older gentleman. But maybe he's still up there this time, hopefully a little drier. Up there just going, whoa,
Do you think he's come back already?
He probably is. Hopefully he's doing a better job. He was a very nice man. But do you
Good.
see, that's what we deal with. Now, did
Mm-hmm.
he have a presence of mind to say that? Was that something, I mean, he was on his way out. It wasn't like he was begging for more alcohol or begging you for
Mm-hmm.
some money or a sandwich, or he wasn't doing any of that. It was just his way, and he did have a very, very defined stutter. And when he said that, it took a lot out of him to get it out. But I will never forget charisma as long as I live. And that actually was a very big marker for me in my life. So
Oh, wow.
motivate people, help people,
Mm-hmm.
say the things of encouragement. People out there, listeners, viewers, wherever you may be, whatever stage of life you are, you can make a difference and have no idea. And you know what? Your blessings will be already given to you.
Mm.
It's just a fact. So I needed to throw that out.
No, I love
Whew,
that.
I love
I
it. I'm
love it.
getting all tinglies.
No, it well, and I'm, I've always been a big complimenter, and I wasn't always, and now I am, and I don't, and I always think about that as like it
Hmm?
takes me nothing, and I'm
Yeah,
pretty astute, so if I'm complimenting, I've thought about it, and I think that's like nice. It's like nobody does that anymore. They feel like it takes something from them to say something nice to another person. I'm like, I
absolutely.
promise you, it doesn't, and not even because you want something out of them, but just like I'll never see you again, but I really like your dress.
Exactly. And one thing I need to say to you that I just love, Sterling, is that I really do. And I was actually watching this when we were at Miracles of Joy this past weekend. That's in Louisville, Texas. And I was watching you because you would give genuine hugs. Some people go, "Ah, thank you, bye bye," and then they leave. You were going in for that, just that emotion, and I could feel it. And again, it goes right down to the mindset of, you never know. You may have hugged someone who hasn't had a hug in 6 years, and they're
Mm,
contemplating suicide, and your
mm,
generous hug just changed their life. And you have no idea, because it doesn't matter if you know. All it
mm-mm.
matters is that you do. And
A lot
so,
of my clients, they do that thing, and I know you know what I'm talking about, but I don't know why I get those that seem drawn to me are very shut down on the front end, and I'm pretty shut down when I don't know someone. But I'm always like, "This is your 30 minute, da da da. What do you want to talk about?"
right.
And as soon as they say, "Oh, nothing," or "Oh, work stuff," my guides are so savage and so like to the point.
Yep.
It's like, well, how's your mom? Because you're exhausted and you need sleep, and she's really on your butt and she needs to
Yep.
back off. And
Yep.
it's just like, they don't, and it's not my energy. I'm not trying to break
No,
someone, but my
no, not
guides
at
are like,
all.
we're not going to do the
No,
BS. We're going to get to the point if we can. And
we're going
that's
to
one of
get
the
to the point.
reasons I feel so soft at the end of it, because I almost feel like we went on a journey together that maybe they hadn't really been as prepared for as
Right.
they had thought.
That's
And there's part of me that has a lot of love for that because I get it.
Well, exactly. Sometimes, I mean, the truth of the matter is, most people know what they need, they're just not willing to admit it.
Yeah. That's hard.
And then,
I'm right
because
there
then
with
it becomes
them.
reality, right?
Yeah. Then you gotta own it. And I'm like,
Then
I'd
you got to
rather
own it. And
not.
I'll tell you,
Thank
that's
you.
not so easy sometimes. So,
I'll put that over there.
exactly, that's over there. I just love it too, because people do that. And I know for those out there, hey, I get it. You want to know what we have to say, and I totally understand that. And so when you sit down in front of us and go, I don't have anything. I don't have any
You're
questions. I don't have
giving us
anything.
free reign, and that may not be what you're after.
Well, that, and also one of these days I'm gonna, and I'll be very generous with my time about this. But one day I'm gonna go, really, okay, that's good, because I don't either. Let's get, you want some tea? Let's. What you doing tomorrow?
Or
It's supposed to
well,
rain.
if somebody it would be funny. I've never had this happen. I wish that my guides had this kind of sense of humor. It'd be
Hmm.
so funny if somebody who was like kind of adversarial, you just start picking validating things, but none of it matters.
Yeah.
Like you're like you're like, well, I know you went to Pizza Hut last night, and it seems like you had a good time. You just
Yeah.
pick out all things that are accurate, but they bring no value. That would
Don't
be
do
kind of
that.
funny. We won't do
It
that.
is
Just
funny. It is when you
because
see
you do
that.
get that, and it's a little bit like, dang, now I gotta prove something to you and try to help you.
Well, and again, I totally get it. I'd probably
I
do
do
the same
too.
thing, because I'd be like, I don't know if I'm here. I don't know what you got to say. But it is interesting. And I do
Hmm.
cherish the fact that you give these genuine hugs.
Thank you.
Obviously, for the long time, we had to, we couldn't do any of that. So that was a little hard. We had to kind of just go, I'm seeing you,
Yeah.
which is creepy
Through a
in itself.
bye. Hope
Bye.
that helped. Yeah.
If I see another elbow, I swear to God,
Oh
I'm going to start
man.
flapping my wings
We
like
were
a
doing
duck.
weird stuff. Just
Because
trying
it's
to
like, I don't
connect.
want I will. And we're really listeners and viewers.
We're gonna
We're
get
getting
back
there. We're getting there.
having fun.
But I want to add one more thing. And if you don't think any of this matters, or you don't think this makes any sense, I'm going to give you a very simple illustration of what we're talking about right here. You go to that mall I was talking about before they close the doors. You go there, and all of a sudden you find something in particular, a place, something you want to stare at. And you make it obvious. You go, and you're going to have 100 people within about 5 minutes all looking up in the air, looking for what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So if you don't think you can motivate people, if you don't think your life matters, if you don't think your world is important, that's how you changed 100 people's life just now. Did it matter in the sense of you're staring at a dot in the wall? Or you're no, but it's an illustration that you do have to be mindful of the things you say and do. You do have to be mindful of your actions, because it's not just your children that are watching you, it's the world that's watching you. And that's a simple thing. It's a simple thing. If just a text, find a focal point, go look at it, and then don't just kind of like pretend very subtly that you're looking over there. Make it look obvious. How many stories have you heard? How many things have you watched on the YouTube channels of someone lining up in front of a door, and then someone stands behind them, and then someone stands behind them, and the next thing you know, the line is going around the building, and there's not even any reason. It's just that
oh my God.
Follow.
When we were in the airport, we were all exhausted, and I remember, you do come off as very, very just very gentle in a general sense. The most I ever engage with you, you're very, very gentle, typically.
Oh, darn.
But I know what you're capable of, but we just don't see it that much. And I remember I was standing in the line trying to get off the plane, and you said, "Come on." And I said, okay. And then you just charged past everyone. Turned out that line wasn't even what we needed. So I'm just like being submissive, and you're like, let's go. And I was like, I forget she is this one.
Well,
we've had no sleep. Brian's stuck in Pennsylvania or something, or Philly.
Oh God, that was all.
You know what I mean? We're just trying to figure it out, and you're like, no, we're not waiting in this line. I don't even know what this line is for, but we're not doing it. I was like,
that's
yes,
right. Maybe because I've created so many of these lines to test in the past, I didn't want to be someone's test subject.
I love it. That's
I love
too
it.
funny.
I love it. Well, let's go now. Let's talk about those beautiful greeting cards. You want to?
Yes.
Let's talk about something we see in all the greeting cards, or at least we used to. Not so much now. Okay, who out there knows about cherubs? Cherubs. We see those little winged babies. They're so
babies,
cute.
okay.
Yeah, they don't look that cute. They're of the highest order, but they're not that darn cute. They're more Sphinx-like, stoic and Sphinx-like. Yes, they have a face as a human face, but they're not cute little babies in diapers doing a commercial for Infamil, okay? That's not what they're about.
So they're like gatekeepers.
They're like gatekeepers.
Is that, like, I'm a quiz ya.
Well, they're celestial record keepers.
What? I didn't know this. Oh,
isn't that cool? And
that's
so, record keepers, maybe you're keeping your greeting cards, but they don't really probably have much stock in the greeting cards, because they're not little babies, and they're not real cute and cuddly.
And they're not that emotional.
No. And they are winged. They are considered to be winged, but they're not warm and fuzzy. They don't want to be on your Valentine's Day post.
Wow.
They're just not that energy.
Can you imagine how unfair that is for them? They're listen, we're the scholars, and everyone's like, but you look like a chubby baby, and you're naked all the time. You're like, what?
Right. They hold the knowledge of God according to the informations that are out about cherubs and cherubims. Cherubim is the plural sign. They're not out there with bows and arrows. They're not Cupid. Okay?
Right. Well, that's a pagan, that's a Greek Hellenistic thing.
It's exactly, that's right. And so we recognize that even though they're depicted as these cute little babies that we all want to take home and rock, no. No.
And have you ever engaged with an energy of that nature?
I actually haven't. I don't. And maybe it's because I'm very specific about not falling into the belief system of what they're supposed to be. Okay. Hi, kitty.
He's just
sweetie pie.
Just can't. He can't.
Oh, I want to pet the kitty. I want to. Oh,
he wants it too. He wants it too.
Yeah, I know people think that's crazy, but listen, I want to pet the kitty.
He's over here making himself known.
that again, cherubs, they're basically, they come to earth, they have great tasks, right? They're record keepers. They kind of keep order, and again, by keeping the records of things, they want to make sure that everything is documented. They are basically coming back with messages. So the messages they're coming back with are really not on the Hallmark cards, people. That's not what they're about. They're not warm and fuzzy. They're very much not. They've got a lot of
heard
light.
agent of karma.
Yes. Yep.
They're the ones keeping our karma clear and straight, and what we've done and what we haven't done. Oh, wow.
That's exactly right. They have roles just like all the others. Now we're getting, we're still going, okay, well, where's my favorites? Where's my archangels? We're going to skip some of these because we could be here till tomorrow afternoon. And so I got that. But we do know there's thrones. Thrones. That's also in the higher order. That's a higher echelon. And we'll give you a couple examples of them. A throne is something that we probably see in our nightmares. We probably see the energy in dream states. A throne is really a wheel with eyes.
What?
I know.
It's so weird. Why do we call it a throne when we sit on it?
Well, that's a good question, because actually they're God's chariot. Think about it.
Oh. And back then it was like King David, Solomon, they were technically supposed to be the human agent of God. Wow.
We sit on the throne. That's the judge and jury. Okay. It's judge and jury. The throne is actually considered a place of judgment. So getting to sit on the throne is great, but it's also about the judgment according to the Judeo religious belief system. Yeah. They are basically going back to God, saying this person has done this and this and this, and we are letting you know. And they come across as a bunch of wheels.
I'm just kidding. So they're God's rats, huh? They telling us what.
And they must be moving fast because they're all the shape of wheels, right?
Wow.
With eyes. So for those people that see a lot of eyes in their meditation, if you see kind of a circular energy around your eyes, what are you being judged from? What are you doing? Are you doing something you shouldn't be doing? Or do other people blame you for something that's not true? Where are you stuck? That's a throne energy that's looking to see what you're doing. Okay? We've got a lot of other ones. I'm going to go into a few before we go right into the archangels, because I know everyone wants to hear about them because those are the most familiar, right? So we recognize we go the highest, we go to the dominions, so we go to principalities. Principalities are where we're gonna really talk about our general energies, our general. So we're gonna look at another one that's considered, well, the dominions. Oh, what does that mean? Dominions. If you hear dominions or dominance, what does that feel like?
Like a region of concern. Like they have their region or something, right?
Yeah. No? If they're governing, they're balancing too. There is a right or wrong, right? Dominions or dominations are another angelic presence, and they are also governing balance.
Why?
So
are
there's a balance between the celestial world and the human world.
Oh,
they are heavenly governors. Okay. That's what they
like
do.
The veil? I mean, is that like, you can't...
You could look at it like the veil. They're kind of like the middle management of things. They give the data. They give the information. They keep order. They keep what they were... Now, we all know the term worker bees, and I feel like that term is used for mankind because we kind of know what that means. But they basically, they also kind of dole out responsibilities to some of the lesser angelic energies.
Oh, so weird. I just got goosebumps.
A little bit of a power, right? They've got power.
And that is an uncomfortable thought, because I know what you're about to say about the art. So they're the ones who are like, hey, this event might be happening. Can you go address it possibly?
Yes. And the archangels go.
Right. Yep.
So there's a governing body. Isn't that fascinating to think?
That is weird. There's
a lot of different, and we could talk about all the different types. There's a few more that I don't want to, you're not going to remember. Your head's going to be swimming, because I know what you really want to know is, what about mine? Those are the archangels. For the longest time, Sterling, you'll get a kick out of it. This is a Terryism, right? I was afraid to say archangels, and I said it fast because I didn't know how to pronounce it. But sometimes I wanted to call them archangels, and then I wanted to call them, I got here by my archangels, and then I didn't want to call them anything because I didn't know what I was calling them. So if I say archangels and archangels all in the same breath, haha,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. They are basically the lower energies. Woo, boy, did that just strike a nerve, right? Think of it this way. The highest angelic energies don't really work with us. They work with each other. They come here. They see what we're doing. They're their sense of order and govern. They govern. Now let's talk about our favorites. We've got the archangels, and then we have the regular angels underneath them. Okay? So it's probably archangels, and then angels, probably earth angels, will fall in that category. So everybody wants to know about the archangels. Everybody works with them. Everybody is them or part of them. Every now and again, I actually do see something that's very realistic about a connection, and I always say it. That's my goal. I also feel that they will work with you also as spirit guides. I see that a lot. You know, if you're having a lot of problems getting, communication between you and your spouse, you and your job, you and, whomever, really. We recognize the communication is Gabriel. We recognize that Gabriel is about communication. Gabriel is a messenger. And so Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel, is one of, there's primary 7. There's also more. The newer studies are coming out. There's 9 or there's 90. And so you can have at it if you want. I have a hard enough time keeping up.
There's primarily 7.
Yes.
Which is God's number.
It is God's number.
Over and over again.
And, from my perspective, I can barely keep up with the 7 we have that we know. So I don't really care to know about a lot more.
I don't know much about them at all. So this is your realm.
Okay. And that's okay. There was speculation that Gabriel was a female. But every picture I've ever seen of Gabriel is masculine. So I find that fascinating, when I see Gabriel with the trumpet and everything's, it's like, this is all feminine energy. Except when you see the pictures. They're not depicted at all as feminine. So I'm going to leave that in your capable hands. Some people...
Well, also, communication, that's the third, principal, or not principal, but also Hermes was considered communication, considered hermaphroditic.
Yes.
A lot of the nature of communication in religion and in mythology has always leaned feminine, if not just straight up both.
That's right. Straight up both. And quite honestly, don't waste your time thinking, oh gosh, do I have a guy here or a girl here? Who cares?
Right.
There are archangels.
They're going to present what's least off-putting to you. So if you have severe masculine wounds or that's right. They're going to present more feminine. They're there to make you feel at ease if they're going to work with you.
That's their primary role, is to communicate, to show you and to help you to communicate through your problem. They're wanting you to have a new beginning. They want you, or not they, Gabriel, or maybe it is they, maybe it is masculine, feminine, all blended. They want you to know that there's a way to have a reset. There's a reset. So if you have a lot of change in your life and a lot of things that just seem to be, coming at you at once, keep your communication, elevated by getting, asking for help from Archangel Gabriel. Now, people ask me all the time, can I have an archangel as a guide? Well, I'm going to put it back in your capable hands by asking you a question. Can I pray to God? But you can't because he's mine. This is mine. You can't have it. So think about that logic. If it doesn't work on that level, if you can have a deity, whomever this may be, that a mass group of people can pray to or feel they're with, then why not share Gabriel, right?
And we touched on that with Mother Mary in our second episode.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So yes, I see it all the time. I feel that if you have an archangel that you've worked with for a long time, chances are you've got a reason. Chances are if Gabriel's there, he's trying to help you to have your voice. If I see Gabriel standing near you, I may say, hey, let's you and I hum for a minute. Let's get your throat chakra working because something's needing to be changed. Something's going on because it's communication, right?
Right.
Comes out of the mouth. Oftentimes communication, at least a spoken form of communication, may be the problem. So maybe there needs to be...
Maybe that's why you're wearing blue glasses today, because we were going to go into Gabriel too.
No, I'm rocking the Michael.
I love it.
So again, Most people will know, they'll have a sense of feel that they've got someone working with them. I also have noted this, and this seemed to be, for a long time, this was almost absolute. But those that had a strong angelic presence around them typically either had a lot of trauma and child abuse in their own existence, or they had lost a child. And I had seen that come through because I also work with Enoch, which is more Metatron, which is not what Metatron would do. We'll talk about him too in a moment. But Metatron isn't usually going to come in for those that have trauma from childhood. But it's interesting to me, for the longest time, I really got the feeling that if you were really, rocking the angels, you probably had a reason. You probably had something that you had early on in this particular existence and just continued. Now, do I feel that you have the angel for every life? Like you do your other guides? I really don't. I feel that angels come more for, they could stay during a lifetime.
Wow.
But I don't see them traveling with you forever.
Which means that you feel that the guides that we know, life through death, the two, so you feel that those extend over multiple lifetimes, because I've felt that way as well.
Yes, absolutely. They can be over through multiple lifetimes for those that are helping us to exit and depart from one existence to the next. But so if you look at a Gabriel, look for a trumpet. There's a good sign for you. There is also
funny
just
sound.
Yeah,
now it's all clicking.
It's communication. It's what do I know and sense and hear? How can I communicate? It's messenger. Gabriel's the messenger, and also the starter of new beginnings by using words and messages. So Gabriel's a really good angel to have around, especially if you are in the communication business. And you really, you need to rely on what you say, not only in a friend, family existence, but in a corporate existence, or in a personal existence, however you want to look at it. But Gabriel is definitely the messenger God. Okay? Now, there's going to be other people out there that are going to go, no, now I read that Gabriel does more than that. Well, of course he does. You're not a one-trick pony either, are you? So we all have more that we are capable of doing, but those are the primaries that we're talking about. So guess who's also considered an archangel? Arch, all of it. Metatron.
Okay. I don't know much about
Now, Metatron.
Obviously, the cube, Metatron's
cube.
Right.
And we could have a whole session just on Metatron's cube someday if you're interested. But Metatron is, again, basically, he's really a divine record keeper. Now, I know he's got a lot more clout than that, but he is a divine record keeper. He's also basically he guards the tree of life. So that's an interesting take too. He's a guardian of the tree of life. How could that be? Metatron, you're busy.
Well, what does that mean?
Well, what does the tree of life mean to you? If you look at the term, the tree of life, don't we all have a tree of life?
Aren't in the Kabbalah, they talk about the tree of life as all of the allowed nature of our dynamic, like, so that because of the tree of life, and it goes down too, so it's all of the pathways that the soul can take.
Yes, absolutely. And so all of the connections.
So would that mean he also guards free will?
Well, that's a good note. I would feel that he probably does guard free will, because that would be one of the branches, correct?
Because that's what allows us to move through the pathways, because it's always choice.
That's right.
My brain is blown. So like when we talk about that there are repercussions when you go and impede someone's free will through witchcraft or any version of it, I have always believed that there are very real consequences, which is the only reason I really started to develop thinking that there was a good and benevolent energy that supports all this.
Yes.
Because otherwise there wouldn't be a recourse.
That's right.
But that would be his domain.
That would be more his domain. I know, rock the house. That's a pretty powerful thought, isn't it?
So interesting. Of course.
He's also a divine record keeper, so in other words, he holds a grudge. Or
that's hilarious.
He at least remembers.
And he gives a reward.
And he gives rewards.
Because it would be what you, there's a toast and it says, I hope you get everything you need or want and never what you deserve. And I think
Exactly.
that's so funny. As far as a toast, it's
That's
acknowledging.
exactly. Yeah, get all what you deserve. I love that. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
And so again, this is someone, Metatron is an archangel, considered an archangel, who really is the guardian of the tree of life. And you can take it a step further if you recognize the tree of life is really all of us in a nutshell, all of humanity. We're the trunk, we have all the networks, we have all the lifetimes, we have all the things that are in each branch. Think of where he came from. Enoch was the man who went to heaven but didn't have to die to get there. I don't know if he got teleported, transported. I don't know who got him or what happened, but he's Metatron as well. Enoch is the man and Metatron is the angel. So if he bypassed that, right? Because if we have a tree of life and Enoch is, didn't have to go through all the, he could, it's like those forms, those 30-page forms we have to fill out to get an apartment or something. And, 20 of those pages are nothing but something you have to read and initial that you've spent that wasted time doing so. Think of it that way. Enoch said, hell with that. I'm not doing that. I'm going over here. I'm going to go to heaven first. So he went to heaven without dying. So he kind of bypassed some of the tree branches on the tree of life.
Which would make sense that he would be able to. Well, it's so, the Ethiopian Bible right now is the only one that still considers Enoch canon. And it is within his book that there is an acknowledgement of the watchers or the more negative side of this reality. So obviously it would make sense that somebody wanted to censor that. But if you ever, to the listeners, if you ever want to interact with this information as far as the angels and also the watchers or the archons or the more, ancient scripture, it's in that book. It's very fascinating.
Just a little light reading for you, in between your lunch breaks, no
if
problem.
You're into it,
I love it. That's one thing I love about Sterling. If you have a question, she's got a treasure trove of information for you. She's read and seen everything there is. So as I said, we're very well matched because I've got the love, she's got the wisdom. Well, she's got some love too.
I'm so here for it. I love it.
So let's talk about Michael. Oh my gosh, Michael. Everybody loves Michael, right? Everyone wants Archangel Michael. Well, it's so funny. There was a show. It was an old movie. I think it was from the 80s. If you ever get a chance, you can go to Netflix. Search Michael. John Travolta is the angel in it.
Okay.
And it's so funny because it really is. And, you've got to have a little bit of a sense of humor. If if you don't, you probably don't need to be watching this. But he depicts Michael, the angel, Archangel Michael. And he smokes cigarettes and he scratches himself and, he does all these things and he's off put by the way humanity is. So it's a show. He comes to Earth and he's doing what he's got to do here. He's kind of phasing his workout, basically. I won't tell you all the storylines, but he sometimes begrudgingly, does a miracle because, okay, I can, but he's a little ticked off at humanity also. So, not that I think Michael is that, I so far I've not seen him in spiritual work that I've done holding a cigar or a cigarette, but I do find that a humorous way to lighten the air when it comes to what we believe in our structure for angelic energies. So Michael is a protector. We all know he's a protector. That big old sword. He's got a lot of things to protect, right? A lot of people have guides. Michael is a guide. I've known several women who were in abusive relationships, and I felt Michael around them. And they would say, I think I have Michael. Well, you're right. You do. You've got a lot of reason to. He's the protector. He's helping you through some of these things. Now, also know that Michael has many, many children. And this is where it goes into a whole nother session. But I have actually, and again, remember, I'm not the one that goes and gives everybody a title.
You're not.
But I actually have a student right now who I have been very, very led to tell is one of Michael's children, one of his earthbound children. So I don't know. I'm not going to say Michael's been fooling around, but I'm going to say that I know she's his daughter. How strange is that? When you say
it's so strange, and I'm going to try to unpack it. So you're saying basically that she is a bloodline of his?
She is not an earth angel. She's not an earth angel. She's a human from an angel-human relationship.
Which was
consummated some time ago.
Right. Well, but that also brings in the, so does she, how is her, this is a lot because we could find her. I don't mean to be too personal, but you know, they say that the unions of, well, that was, they say that created the Nephilim, but
that's right.
Michael wouldn't have been one of the ones that did that, or would he have been? Because there were 200 angels allegedly.
There were 200 angels, yes, and
they had bloodlines.
But you know, I'm not.
It's probably
I'm
more
not
than
prepared to say yes or no.
Oh, right. Well, it's so funny because, you know, everybody wants to say that everything that's written exactly as it is happened exactly as it did, and I don't believe that, but
No,
I
I don't
believe
believe
it would
that
make
either.
perfect sense that if there was a capability of a unity,
Mhm.
and if it was allowed by the God or the creator energy, then there would be
Yeah.
good too. I mean, it doesn't
Yes.
seem like, maybe some of them did and they got messed up. I get it, but like,
Could
yeah, I
be.
could see how that would be. That's so wild. Wow. So what's the personality like?
Oh, it's interesting. She's lovely. She's in her 70s, and she has been basically a follower of truth. She's been, you know, trying to find.
I think I know who this is. Did she? Did that's so funny.
I can't tell you.
Yeah, because we'll talk after.
But I will tell you this.
I know who this is.
She's an amazing woman. She is wrapping up a lot of things that she had much to question about, and she is feeling much more confident. This is a soul who went on a trek, went on a journey,
very lonely,
back in the start of this year, to find more truth about Michael, and I'm delighted to say she found it, and
oh my God,
she brought the answers back with her. This is someone who hasn't been on an airplane in probably 40 years.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, her desire to understand the truth, her desire to close chapters, her desire to understand more of why she felt the way she felt about things, all of it came to fruition on that one trek. And it was a, you know, when you're asked to go, you know, I won't tell you where she left because she may also not want that to be revealed.
I just heard "come to daddy," and I don't mean that in a bad, disrespectful way.
What it was.
She was getting called to go meet him.
She was getting called, and I was a vessel to give her that information. I heard, if you seek me, then show me your efforts, and told her specifically where to go. And she did.
Oh my God! And the sacrifice,
sacrifice to go
because
there,
of the
confusion and the fear.
Mm-hmm.
And she
chose that's also to go. What no one wants to acknowledge as well, because it's like everyone talks about all the horrible things that you would have to do to be in service of the dark. It's like
yes,
high levels of fasting, all the that is also true for accessing the higher echelons of the light. It's like just like any dark would want you to be a cleansed vessel so that they can do whatever they need to do. The angels need that so that there's a way that you can commune with them. It's hard. It's not easy to engage with those energies.
Mm-mm. That's exactly right. So it was a very profound thing to see, to witness, and to see the changes within her when she returned.
Had she needed protection in her life, or was that not really as much true because of the bloodline? Well,
that's an interesting question, because she had a very wonderful spouse that took very good care of her.
Wow.
Who's now in spirit as well. I mean, not as well, but he's in spirit. And I feel that he was aware of a task, maybe a little freaked out by it. But I do feel that he has been, out of all the people that I work with, he is probably the most reliable as far as being with her. He's made a decision to continue to be more earthbound. And I'm not saying he didn't cross. I'm simply saying he spends more time here than anywhere else. And I feel that he'll, at some point, he and Michael will probably be those that will help her to journey across.
Oh my God. Oh, that's
so it's cool. Very profound, you know. Okay, we don't make this stuff up. It's what comes to us, and it's quite profound to us. I mean, I sat there with my mouth wide open the first time I understood what was happening. Oh so this is profound to us as well. So Michael is amazing energy. If you need help, if you need protection, if you need guidance, if you need really just a direction, this is your go-to. Ask for Archangel Michael's help. Know he's strong, know he's there, know he's resilient, and so are you. When you bring these angels, there's also responsibility. You're going to call these angels to you. You're going to have to show a little moxie with them, and meaning you've got to emanate what they're giving you. If they want you to be strong, you've got to go strong. You see?
See, it's weird because I was a little bit, of the critical school of like, well, maybe these, I don't know what I thought. I just thought maybe these weren't real, like the energies of them. And it's so weird to be, I know you and I trust you more than I trust myself. And so it's like for you to feel the sentience of them is so interesting.
Quite remarkable.
It makes me rethink my desire to know more about them. I mean, like, that's absolutely amazing. And so, thank God.
And what I find so appealing to me is that the more you connect, and I'm not going to say as so much as the more you know, because I am not a scholar by any stretch of the imagination, but the more you connect and the more you feel and the more you get into the vibes of things, you start seeing that there is just so many possibilities, so much energy and love out there and connection, and it's crazy to think about it. But when we look at our lives, I chuckle when someone tells me they're bored. I just think, oh dear God, how is that even possible? In the world we're a part of, how can you even for 1 second be bored? Sometimes I have to take a deep breath just to take a break. So, the bottom line is there's a lot to be connected to, and Michael's a very good protector. Now we're going to move along a little bit to the patron of travelers. Oh my gosh. I'm all about traveling. I'm a big traveler. I travel as much as I can. If I want a day off, I have to leave the state, and I'm really good at that. Sometimes I have to leave the country, several times, sometimes.
I love it.
So we know that the patron of travelers is definitely Raphael, right? We also know that Raphael is an amazing archangel to work with, especially if you are one of two things or both. You're a natural healer. You heal. You're a Reiki master. You're an energy worker. You're anything to do with healing. You could be doctor, medical, in the Western medicine world, whatever it is. But Raphael is the archangel over traveling and also over healing. If you're needing a lot of healing, Raphael's your person or your guide or your archangel. So recognize that Raphael has a good solid place in our world, basically. We can gain and get more information. If you are struggling with finding balance, maybe you have a medical condition out there and you're like, oh, I just need some help. Raphael is your go-to. If you're the world traveler and that's what you want to do and you're really passionate about it, that's your archangel. If you are really trying to help the world to heal and you're a healer like we do on as well, recognize Raphael is someone we could go to when we're feeling like we just don't have it. We're tired. We can't do this. Our healers aren't coming in. We can't do this. Raphael is your primary. Okay. So we know that there's a lot to offer with that particular archangel. We recognize it really that if you can utilize all of these archangels. Please don't feel you have to go pick and choose. It's like what we say about your guides. If you're going down a bad alley and there's people walking towards you, you don't have to go, I forgot my protector's name. Oh my gosh,
they're there.
You just go help, right? You just say help. They'll sort it out. That's kind of my technique for it. They'll sort it out. We're not up in the echelon as high as they are. We may have ascended, but we're not there. Not in human form. And so they'll help you sort it out. You don't have to go, oh my gosh, well, I don't know which one it is. Who do I ask to help me with this? You could let them sort that out. But Raphael is also, a lot of people don't know that that's the patron of travelers.
I have not heard that.
Yeah, Raphael, it's like a kid's like, hey, help me get from here to there. I want to get there safely. So we're going to move on down the list for all you artists out there. And I know the Terryisms make me mispronounce things with Jophiel.
I've never even heard.
I call it Jophiel. You can call it Jophiel, whatever. Be joyful. I don't care. But Jophiel is an archangel, and we know that that's about beauty.
Wow.
Now that's also to help artists. You know, if you're painting, if you're creating, if you're designing, you know, it's interesting. I bet Jophiel was around when the Sistine Chapel was being created, because I just feel that energy. I just feel that there is such a power of beauty behind Jophiel. So
I heard architect.
Yes, an architect, exactly. So we want to create, we want to do. If we are designing and creating, whatever it may be, maybe you've decided you're going to be, you know, an interior designer. Go get yourself something about Jophiel. Go get a statue. Go get a little memorabilia. Put Jophiel on your screensaver. It just as an acknowledgement that, hey, I'm this person. I know one of these. One of these things I'm doing is your specialty.
Well, and also it's almost like the architect energy is like helping piece together what's beautiful already. If you're having trouble seeing that, if everything looks dark and crazy.
Absolutely.
That's so wild.
You know, and it goes right back to day one. You know, everything we do is about perceptions. If you perceive you're in a ditch, you are in a ditch. It may not be the one outside your front door, but you're there. You're just in another one. So get you know, the power within to ask for help, to get your helpers on board. You know, there's not a waiting list. You know, Jophiel's not going to say, oh, well, you know, I've got you on my waiting list. I'll talk to you next November. There's enough for everybody. Get involved. Even if you don't believe, you know, I tell people all the time, well, don't take my word for it. Keep an open mind and go find it for yourself. You know, I have a student, a friend I recently saw again for the first time in 5 years. And she's Jewish. She wrote a book about conversations with Jesus.
Yep. Oh, man, that's wild.
How cool is that?
It's amazing.
Because what she did was she didn't put all the ego out there. She didn't put, you know, what she's supposed to do out there. And she connected to the archangels. You know, let's talk about Ariel. And I'm not talking about the little Disney movie either. Okay. Or could be. Who knows? Maybe Ariel was an archangel.
Right.
Probably not. You know, we looked at them also as the Lion of God or the Lioness of God, because there's speculation that Ariel is female, which breaks down the communication that Gabriel's the only one, right?
Right.
So Ariel, the lioness, Lion of God, is all about nature. It's all about animals and nature. So if I've got a sick kitty cat or a sick puppy dog, or I've got a lost kitty cat or a lost dog, or whatever it may be, we know that Ariel might be able to help, right? If this archangel is in charge of nature and all the beautiful animal kingdom that surrounds us, maybe we need to ask some of the right, you know, people, right? Angels, hey, you know, I need some help. I got a sick kitty cat, or my cat's been gone for 3 days. It makes me ill right now. I've got 3 clients that have lost cats, and it just makes me sick. So, you know, I'm going to reach out to them and remind them, you know, let's go ahead and get Ariel involved. Let's get some feedback here.
Wow.
Nature and animals.
If I were, of the ones we've talked about so far, I'd rather be her. Like, the other ones are so, I mean, they're great, but like, I wonder if any of the other angels are like, you got the easiest one. Animals don't lie, cheat, and steal. Nature kind of just does its thing and just needs protection. Like,
yes. Well, and that, yeah, but remember, with nature, you're right, it does do its own, but mankind just kind of comes in there and destroys it, right?
I guess that would
mankind comes in and hurts the animals and the nature.
So she's kind of on guard against our lesser nature.
Yes. And so we look at that as being just a very powerful angel, you know, archangel of the spirit of the spirit of angels, not angels, the spirit of animals and the spirit of nature. So that's another go-to. Now you can research it as much as you want or as little as you want. You're going to find some other things that might get very specific. You know, who knows? Maybe Ariel had 100 birds at one point that all flew south for the, you know, winter.
And just that, I would be wary about that. If there's an energy that's saying they know the ins and outs and that they know he prefers chocolate cake, I would be very curious where they got that.
Well, I know. I mean, I think you're reading my mind because I prefer chocolate cake.
You always have the best desserts too at your place. Anyway.
Oh, we had strawberry shortcake last night. Yes, I
Ooh.
stayed up too late. Oh my gosh, I stayed up too late. I feel sorry for my clients today. Hope you're not
No.
listening to me.
You said I'm gonna just step out. Listen, one of the angels can step in. It'll be what it
That's
is.
right. They're gonna have to tonight. I'm doing scrying, not crying.
Oh.
Of course, it might be close.
Or it might be both.
Might be both. I'm gonna
You
definitely
provide the scrying water with your tears.
exactly. I'm gonna activate all the help
Sorry.
from all of the above to help me get through this class tonight.
I do
too.
want to make sure you can get to what you need to, by the way. I know it's 11:30 now.
We've got a few minutes. Yes, I do
Okay,
have
perfect.
a noon client. But before we do that, we've got one of my favorites.
Oh, let's
Ooh,
go.
drum roll, please. A little bit of that spooky movie. Music in the background would be okay too. Azrael. Now everyone thinks, oh my God, that's the angel of death. Well, sure it is. Some people call Azrael the Grim Reaper,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also other jobs. I've seen the Grim Reaper. It's quite amazing. So if I saw the Grim Reaper and I'm told that that's Azrael, I'm feeling that's probably a different form of Azrael because I saw what we depict, maybe because I have a human brain, as the Grim Reaper. And it was
With the
around
scythe?
someone who we were not waiting to die, but we knew was going to.
Ooh, wow. And it was dark depicted. The scythe was
Yes.
present or no?
The angel of death does not present as someone who's wearing, pigtails and, pink
Right.
chiffon. This is
Yeah.
definitely a darker energy. Now, darker energy, what does that mean? Well, that's not what we talk about when we're talking about magic,
just had
black
a-
magic. What?
Oh my God. This makes something just happen. So is it, he presents that way like the gargoyles because there are other energies that want us when we go too. Is that accurate
Sure.
or
Oh,
no?
absolutely.
That makes so, because I always wondered like why would that be particular like so scary, but it's not for us. It's
So
the
for
other
us.
things that want to scoop us up
Right.
because we are
Exactly.
vulnerable when we die.
That's right.
Oh my God. And so that's why there's always like a shepherd of death because there's going to be things
Yes.
trying to get you not to go to the light.
Yes. You know, it's really cool. And this has, now please understand, this is not
crazy.
anything. I'm not saying this to say you're going to die or any of that stuff. But it's funny, if you look at it, even like limo drivers and everything, they're usually big, burly men.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to be big, burly to drive me across the street.
Right.
But if you notice it, it's about transitions, changes. It's almost a mindset. And I'm not saying if you're 5'8", and a male, you can't drive a limo. I'm simply saying, if you look at it,
little shorty over there starts like, well, I guess I need to change jobs.
Yeah, change jobs now. But do you see what I'm saying? Here we are.
Yes.
We're going from point A to point B. We've got it in our I guess in our energetic brains or human energy. We see that transition from point A to B has to be handled by someone who can protect us.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Very fascinating thought.
Wow.
And we do know that Azrael also is about transitions. Okay.
Mhm.
So yes, transitions oftentimes are not the most positive, right?
They're
We
usually
go
scary.
from life to death. I mean, however you want to see it. In a second, my phone is ringing, and I'm trying to.
Oh, you're perfect.
Oh, I just love it. I put everyone's name in my phone if they called me and and then their name pops up, and I'm like, who the hell are you?
Right. I feel you.
100 times a day, I go, who the hell are you? No, you're a wonderful person. Please don't get me wrong, but I can't remember
I'm waiting
everybody.
for the download to tell me who you are.
I know. Oh my gosh, isn't that the truth? So let's get back to transitions.
Yes.
We recognize Azrael is not just solely about death, but transitions in life, big transitions, not the transition between, oh, I'm going to go from, pizza tonight to spaghetti, not transitions of the heart and that matter, but more significant transitions. Maybe you're moving your whole family, even though we have a patron of travel, but maybe there is something about moving. Maybe there's an ailing parent somewhere and you're going to go there too. You're helping with someone else's transition. You may also have Azrael around you because, again, protecting you to get to the other place to help someone else. Okay?
Oh, man. That's so weird.
Azrael can also be your friend if you have a sick loved one. It doesn't mean that you're going to go down with them to the pearly gates. It simply means that you are working in a transition with someone that is around you, is meaningful to you.
So I've told you multiple times with a lot of human emotion of hurt feelings, but like I've always felt that there's a role I play in people's transitions, and then
Yes.
they leave and I'm always like, where are you going? I thought we were doing something here. And there's
Yep.
something about what I've agreed to that follows that a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. And we've
So
got a lot of
strange.
titles for that. One of my favorite title, which is the weirdest darn name I've ever heard in my entire life, but in shamanism, that person you're describing is called a psychopomp.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
psycho and a pomp. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I'm here for it. It's
Me
fitting.
too.
It's
I'm
landing
like,
for
sign
me.
me up for a psychopomp job. I can do that.
Oh, wow.
But that's what they're called, as psychopomps. And they are those that help in transition from death to basically, also, if you think of it this way, it's not just from life to death, it's from death to life.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at life just being a different form, then wouldn't it work both ways?
Absolutely.
If we truly authentically look at what we know as far as incarnations and all of the above, then we recognize that, okay, yes, we die and we do mourn our loved ones, obviously, but they're also going to another form of life.
Wow.
So
some people,
Azrael,
some people say when we die, that is actually coming back to living.
yes. So, Azrael is, again, protective of our soul. Azrael wants to make sure you get from point A to B, right? Just like that big old burly limo driver, or that big old burly, person in front of the clubs, the bouncers. It's for security. It's for safety. So if you look like you're just warm and fuzzy, you're not probably going to give a portrayal that you are stern in your and resolved in your work, what you're there for. Okay. So the next one is, no one ever remembers Chamuel. I always forget Chamuel. I'll sit there and go, there's another one I don't remember, which is really, really kind of sad, because that's really about relationships. It's peace. It's about just about the tranquility of peaceful relationships. We oftentimes forget that. We get all caught up in, oh gosh, this sucks, this is wrong, this is bad, this is not, blah, 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 blah. And then we get to something really, really wonderful. I mean, I know there's a lot of other people out there besides me that have a wonderful marriage. And so we get to that place and we go, oh yeah, we're fine. we don't explore it. We don't create joy about it. We just go, yeah, we're good. But when we have something that's not so good, it's like, oh my gosh, we tear it apart, dissect it under the microscope, and go right in head first. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the angel of relationships, peaceful relationships, not just chaos, but peaceful relationships, is Chamuel. So what I would do with Chamuel is say, thank you very much. I appreciate all your efforts. I forget who you are. My apologies. I'm human. But I will tell you, you've done some magical work in my life, because obviously this second go around was the one I should have, had from the
been
start.
able to get it together.
But there's reasons for everything. We could talk days about that too. Be glad what you get from your first mistake, because sometimes it's the most treasured people in your life. They're called your kids. So that's
an amazing point. And it's usually contracted in a way that people don't love, but it is what it is.
Exactly. So now that I've really blown your mind about all these archangels and all the different principalities, the dominions, all the other ones we didn't talk about, the seraphim. We talked about seraphim. But recognize there's another lesser group. Oh my gosh, the angels. Just regular garden variety angels. Oh gosh, I hurt their feelings. No, I didn't. We recognize that there's archangels, which we see as basically top dogs. Recognize that there's got to be angels beneath that title. Doesn't mean they're less than. Just like a company. You got a president and a vice president, the CEO, whatever you want to call them, and then you've got executive assistants. You've got echelon. You've got a layer of placement. Excuse me. So we see that, and so we have another form of angelic energy, which is the angels. Pray to the angels. Some people, and I know a lot of our listeners have this. They have angel cards. They have angel statues.
Yeah. A lot of that.
And I'm the first person to say, if you want to learn. This is going to ruffle feathers. Here we go. Let's try one.
Let's do it.
If you want to learn how to do tarot cards or learn from cards, get yourself some angel cards. I tell my clients, half of them would be so really traumatized by seeing a man hanging upside down from a rope. Okay?
Right.
We all know which card that is. In a standard deck. Right. Well, so if you're not into hanging men, and you probably don't need to have
someone out there is like, I love it.
I love it. And you've got plenty of wands and cups. Go find yourself some angel cards. Go get something that has a little bit more of an oomph in a very connective way. Okay, I don't
protected way.
Yeah, and I call it a connective way. I'd rather connect to some angels than to connect to a bunch of cards. I don't want the devil card. I mean, my God, I've got,
Well, and that's a good point. That's an excellent point too, because I would say if you do fear, because people do, I get asked this all the time about does tarot bring in the darkness? I'm not going to say that it does or doesn't. I think the intention is a lot of it, but I think that darkness would be less likely to play with you if you've got angel cards. They don't think they're trying to do work with that. Maybe they are.
And if you have a very odd brain like I do, what comes out of it? You still have images, and you still have the residual stuff from meanings. I don't want to have that in my head.
Right.
I don't have any
100%.
problem with all the different dominions, and I don't really care about it. That's a whole nother 15 years worth of information there. But the reality is what are you doing with it? How are you growing with it?
100%.
Find something inspirational. Go get yourself a deck of kitty cats. I don't care. The Persian cat means that life is growing. I don't care. Go find joy. Go find joy in what you do. Find your angels. Connect to your angels. Connect to that. It doesn't matter the pecking order in the realism of life. Because if it did, you'd be at the very bottom. So would I.
We absolutely. Well, and
so it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
We are the middle ground, right? We are the middle ground of good and evil. That's what our existence is. The angels are trying to help us. Other things are trying to not. And as we go with life, it'd be nice if we got some help from those that want to help us.
That's exactly
that angel energy.
And just, again, don't get caught up in the semantics. If you need help and you know that you've got to just sound the alarm. You don't have to be the expert at this. You just have to know there's help available.
And that's legitimate. The scariest thing and the weirdest thing, and then I'll let you go, but is there was and again, I'm non-denominational to a degree, but I feel very strongly in the way that the reality works, and I think it's supported by a benevolent God, a benevolent energy. And one of the craziest things was there was a priest, and he was also an exorcist, and he talked about how he was walking through a prison, and he said how a huge amount of uneducated, just, prisoners start shouting at him religious text, religious insults. And there was basically this how could there not be something true about that if he's just walking through and it's bringing out these energies and he said the dark energies, he said it's they're like lawyers. They understand spiritual law better than most anybody. And it was so interesting because guess who also knows those rules and laws? Angels.
Absolutely. And, a tag to what you're saying there about the prison system, I have a nephew who is part of, we call it Cell A block, which is the lifers. They don't go anywhere. They've got nothing more to lose. That's where they are. They can either make it or break it spiritually. It doesn't matter. They're not leaving the building. And so what we see in the churches, one thing that was very profound is, of course, they do have church that it's a non-denominational church, but there's a depiction of angels and God and other deities, and just to kind of make everyone feel connected. And what's so profound is that there are angels in there with that. My nephew is extremely intuitive. And he says, and Terri, there's angels with wings that are white, pure white. There's angels with wings that are completely black. And there's angels in there with wings that are white and black. And he said it's quite remarkable because what it does is it covers the entire population. If you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
We have got to get him on here.
No, it's very interesting.
I will beg aggressively. He is so interesting.
I bet he will. He's an amazing young man. And
in the little amount of time that you were with your sister a lot in that trip, I just picked his brain as much as I could, as much as he'd let me. And it's just, he's so in touch in a way that is kind of different than how you and I talk about being in touch.
Yes.
Fascinating.
It's very different. It's very interesting. I've had a blast. Oh
Me
my
too.
gosh.
Thank you so much. This has been the best episode, and I cannot wait. We're gonna cut it up a little bit. We're gonna have a lot of really good. It's just great. We have the best
I
conversations.
love it. I just love it. I hope for the listeners and viewers, don't be strangers. Like us. Let us know. Subscribe. Let us know. Give us questions. Hey, if you don't want to hear us just drone on, give us a question. What do you want to hear? What do you want to know? What do you want to have answered? That's what
We
we're here
just got
for.
another comment that said that we were doing really good stuff.
Oh, I like
last
we're really
week,
doing good stuff. I love it.
Yes,
We take every one of those and we celebrate because, you matter, each of you. So reach out there. If you got a question, you can't get an appointment with either one of us and you're like, hey, I just want one question. Come on.
Yep.
Send it to us. Let us know.
And I will link all the ways that we can reach you and me in the place below. And it'll be we're not hard to find. As Dion Sanders, who I love, that man is pretty cool.
Excited.
He always says, I ain't hard to find.
Yeah.
We're not hard to find.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Sterling, you had mentioned something about an upcoming episode. Is that going to be soon that we're going to do the episode of the journey of me? Oh my God,
Yes.
That sounds scary.
Yes, next week, if we can have a little bit more time on the schedule, and then I am going to bust through that book, and then I'm gonna get to kind of get into it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
my
very
teary-eyed
excited.
Folks, you never know what's going to happen,
No,
stay
I'm so
tuned.
excited.
We don't know where we're going, but we know we're
going to break down. I'm going to ask you I'm going to get to kind of interview her, but we're going to sort of go through what is a lot of written in her book under the pen name ATACT. And I think that it's Altered Grace, and I think that it's going to be a great conversation.
Boy, I'm looking forward to it. It'll help motivate me. I'm writing Contemptus now. So that'll help motivate me to. Yeah. Finally, people are going, where's she been for 8 years, right? Or almost 8 years, 6 years, 7 years, something old. I love you to pieces, girl.
We have done it.
We've done
We'll talk soon. Always. I love you so much.
Absolutely. People, upgrade your life. You've got this. Doesn't cost money to upgrade. It just costs you. You need to be present.
That's her other book, guys. I love you. We'll talk soon.
Later.
Of course.
Of course.
Love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.